Soulful Sundown here at the Unitarian Universalist congregation at Shelter Rock. We gather this evening for worship and coffee house. We gather monthly in the evening. We also gather each Sunday morning at 11 a.m. Our door is always open and you are always welcome. I'm the Reverend Natalie Fenimore, and along with the Reverends Ned White and the Reverend Jennifer Brower, I serve this congregation as minister. We are proud and pleased to welcome our guest service leader today, the Reverend Jude Geiger. Jude serves as minister of our UU neighbor congregation in Huntington. This is also a homecoming of sorts for Jude, who served this congregation as ministerial intern. Many of you may have gotten to know him during that time, and it's great to have him back here with us to lead this service. When you are not here and find yourself in Huntington, please stop by our neighbor Unitarian Universalist congregation. I also give a warm welcome to the Cosmic Orchestra, and know that you will enjoy hearing them. They bring such energy, such joy, such music to us. And feel free during this service to let the Spirit move you to sing or to dance along. We are an embodied faith, faith of the mind and the heart and the spirit brought together in celebration of life. And now I invite Jude forward to lead our service.
Good evening, everyone. We gather together once again like around our sacred fire, as humanity has since the dawn of time, to share in story and song. We make sacred this hour through our commitment to gather. By the light we kindle in our hearts, we kindle this flame as a beacon of our progressive faith. In the life of the Spirit, this time of year is a time of waiting. We've just entered, in the Christian tradition, the season of Advent a week ago, a time of expectant waiting for an everyday miracle that will come along that shifts our perception away from stories of power and to one where wise men and kings bow before a child that is otherwise helpless that may change the world. In the Jewish tradition, we find sustenance, a time of spirit, oil burning in our hearts, our souls, that will endure far more than we ever could imagine it would, to be burning flame as long as is needed. And as we come to the close of this month, as the stars turn toward the solstice and we come on to the longest night, it hides a secret that in the morning, the days will lengthen, the warmth will come again. Tonight's service is a story of waiting. All of our stories will be about anticipation, about expectation, maybe if we're lucky, grace. And we'll find our way back to this time of year, but we'll start by rolling the clock back a few months to summer days. Our first story about a fisherman. One day, this fisherman was working in the morning. He went out, got fish, brought it back, went to a market, sold it, and he was done before lunchtime. And he decided he would just lay out and relax, enjoying God's creation, enjoying the sun on the water, enjoying the birds flying, the grass before him, the beach. Until, as time went on, a well-dressed man came by he had never met, dressed like a businessman in a suit and a tie. And the businessman went up to the fisherman and said, What are you doing? Why are you just lying about all day? And the fisherman was surprised. This was not New York, so he was a little bit more polite. The fisherman said, well, I've already put my day's work in. I went out, I fished, I went to market, I sold my goods, and I've come back, and I'm just enjoying the day. It's a beautiful day out. The businessman said to him, what a waste. You could just go back out again and fish and bring more fish home and take it to the market. And the fisherman said, why would I do that? Well, then you would make twice as much money, and then you could, if you kept that going, you could buy more boats. You could employ people, and they would go out and bring even more fish. Well, why would I do that? Well, if you employed more people and bought more boats, and you went out and got more fish, and you would make more money than you could ever hope for, and you could have a whole fleet and a company around it. Well, all right, but why would I want to do that? Well, if you had all the money you could ever need, you could spend the rest of your time just laying out here, relaxing, enjoying the beautiful sun. The fisherman nodded, smiled, and waited for the businessman to leave, and thought, looking out on the water and the sun, that everything was going to be all right.
It's gonna be just the way that it goes. It's alright.
At its best, spiritual waiting is a positive, but not all types and all ways of waiting is healthy for us. Our poem that we'll see on the screen will tell us about it.
This is one of my favorite of my poems, and I'm reading it to you. It's called The Day the Saucers Came. That day, the saucers landed. Hundreds of them, golden, silent, coming down from the sky like great snowflakes. And the people of Earth stood and stared as they descended, waiting, dry-mouthed, to find what waited inside for us, and none of us knowing if we would be here tomorrow. But you didn't notice it, because that day, the day the saucers came, by some coincidence, was the day that the graves gave up their dead, and the zombies pushed up through soft earth, or erupted, shambling and dull-eyed, unstoppable, came towards us, the living, and we screamed and ran. But you did not notice this, because on the saucer day, which was the zombie day, it was Ragnarok also. And the television screens showed us a ship built of dead men's nails, a serpent, a wolf, all bigger than the mind could hold, and the cameraman could not get far enough away, and then the gods came out. But you did not see them coming, because on the saucer zombie battling gods day, the floodgates broke, and each of us was engulfed by genies and sprites, offering us wishes and wonders and eternities and charm and cleverness and true brave hearts and pots of gold, while giants fifo-fummed across the land and killer bees. But you had no idea of any of this. Because that day, the saucer day, the zombie day, the Ragnarok and fairies day, the day the great winds came and snows and the cities turned to crystal, the day all plants died, plastics dissolved, the day the computers turned, the screens telling us we would obey, the day angels, drunk and muddled, stumbled from a bars, and all the bells of London were sounded, the day animals spoke to us in Assyrian, the Yeti day, the fluttering capes and arrival of the time machine day. You didn't notice any of this, because you were sitting in your room, not doing anything, not even reading, not really, just looking at your telephone, wondering if I was going to call.
It stings. I said something on the surface, well, it kind of made me nervous. You say that you deserve this, and what kind of God would serve this? We will cure this dirty old disease. Well, if you've got the poison, I've got the remedy. The remedy is the experience. This is a dangerously liaison. I says the comedy is that it's serious. This is a strange enough new play on words. I say the tragedy is how you're gonna spend the rest of your nights with the light on. So shine the light on all of your friends, 'cause it all amounts to nothing in the end. I'm worrying my life away. Yeah, whoa. I'm worrying my life away. Yeah, whoa. Well, I heard two men talking on the radio in a crossfire kind of new reality show. Uncovering the ways to plan the next big attack, and they were counting down the ways to stab their brother in the be right back after this unavoidable kiss, where the minty fresh death breath I should have outlast this catastrophe. Dance with me. Well, if you got the poison, I've got the remedy. The remedy is the experience. This is a dangerous liaison. I says the comedy is that it's serious. This is a strange enough new play on words. I say the tragedy is how you're gonna spend the rest of your nights with the light on. So shine the light on all of your friends, 'cause it all amounts to nothing in the end. I'm gonna worry my life away. Yeah, whoa. I'm gonna worry my life away. Yeah, whoa. When I fall in love, I take my time. There's no need to hurry when I'm making up my mind. You can turn off the sun, but I'm still gonna shine, and I'll tell you why. I said the comedy is that it's serious. This is a strange enough new play on words. I said the tragedy is how you're gonna spend the rest of your nights with the light on. So shine the light on all of your friends, but it all amounts to nothing in the end. I won't worry my life away. Yeah, whoa. I won't worry my life away. Yeah, whoa.
You're all playing all the music on my phone. Thank you. It's a soundtrack to my life. This next story is by a Unitarian Universalist minister, Kate Braystrap, but there's some framing to it by another colleague of mine, Reverend Lynn Gardner up in Syracuse. They write, or they say, James Luther Adams said that the highest act of freedom is faith. This is a lot coming from someone who had regularly scorned religion in their undergraduate years, both verbally as an editor of a newspaper, a newsletter, the Angels Revolt. You could imagine what they would produce there. To choose to believe in the possibility of something that is not yet unseen and to commit oneself to it. Reverend Kate Braystrup lives with this kind of faith regularly as a chaplain to the Maine Warden Service. The Warden Service is part of Maine's Department of Fisheries and Wildlife, and they serve those who are exploring and spending time in the beautiful woods, lakes and rivers and shorelines of that state. Like the many beautiful outdoor places we have here in Long Island, most people who visit them aren't even in need of one of the wardens, officers, or any chaplain, which what Reverend Kate is. But when someone is injured, missing, or worse, help is needed. And sometimes faith is called on during the times of waiting, of not knowing. Such was the case one afternoon in late October, when the lieutenant called to ask Kate to be with waiting parents during a search for their missing 6-year-old, their daughter, who had wandered off from a picnic area. Kate knew that some of the dogs that were searching were particularly trained to find cadavers, and she knew the helicopters overhead were looking in the woods, but they were also looking in the lakes. These aren't things that she felt would help her connect with Mr. and Mrs. Moore, and so she kept that information to herself. She knew that there is hope, real hope, early in the search still, and that sometimes some of the best people she knows are looking for this little girl. She breathes in, holding to the knowledge that her own 4 children are safe at home, that the 2 parents before her love their kid, and that for now she can imagine them having a reunion. It's been 9 hours since the family dog returned, and their daughter, Allison, has not. They ask her to tell them the truth. She tells them what she knows to be true, that oftentimes children, when finding themselves lost, will find a place to curl up and take a nap, that unlike adults who keep trying to find their way out of a place in which they've gotten lost, children will wait until help arrives. That's true. Do you remember learning to float in the water? Maybe you have a hard time like I do. It's a kind of thing where you need to relax into it, to feel the weight of the water. And if you try too hard, it doesn't work too well. There's a certain faith in letting go and letting be. Have some faith that the water will hold you. If you try too hard, you can't do it. In Maine, hours pass, and they begin to use first names with no titles. They sit closer to one another and make a bit more eye contact. It's starting to get dark, and the bats are coming out, flitting above them. The Moores tell the story again, retelling the details that they remember of the picnic, of their attempts to find their daughter, and their call to 911, and the arrival of the game wardens, the volunteers, and a chaplain. Later, they'll tell another chapter of the story that begins, once upon a time, Allison was lost. There's a chapter when Warden Dunham and his canine, Grace, find their daughter sleeping under a bush at 3 o'clock in the morning. He says, "Hey, honey, do you want to go home?" Allison says, "Yes." "Do you want me to carry you?" "No, thank you," she says politely, which will be one of the highlights of the story years from now. But the best part is when Warden Dunham and Allison come walking out of the woods together holding hands, and her parents get to pick her up and hold her close. Now, I share this story now, not because it turned out well, but because sometimes it doesn't. If we lived in a world that was entirely predictable, one where we already knew every outcome, and knew that we were completely capable of accomplishing everything we dream of, then we'd have no need of faith. That certainly is not the world we live in. And while Warden Dunham and Chaplain Braystrup have been part of other searches that ended with great sadness, they still keep showing up faithfully, even when the outcome is unclear. James Luther Adams said that faith is, in the end, not a matter of our beliefs, but our commitments.
Been a long time coming since I seen your face. I've been everywhere, running back into replace everything that I had till my feet went numb. Prayed like a fool that's been on the run. Heart still beating, but it's not working. It's like $1 million phone that you just can't ring. I reached out trying to love, but I feel nothing. Yeah, my heart is numb, but with you I feel again. Yeah, with you I feel again. Ooh, 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 ooh. I'm feeling better ever since you know me. I was a lonely soul, but that's the old me. Long time coming since I seen your face. I've been everywhere and back, trying to replace everything that I broke till my feet went numb. Brain like a fool, ass shy of a gun. Heart still beating, but feet working. It's like 100,000 voices that just can't sing. I reached out, tried to love, but I feel nothing. And my heart is numb. But with you, I feel again. Yeah, with you, I feel again. Yeah, with you, I feel again. Yeah, with you, I feel again. Ooh, ooh. 1, 2, 3. I feel better ever since you know me. I was a lonely soul, well that's the old me. I feel better ever since you know me. I was a lonely soul, well that's the old me. I feel better ever since you know me. I was a lonely soul, but that's the old me. I feel better ever since you know me. I was a lonely soul, but that's the old me. Feeling better ever since you know me. I was a lonely soul, but that's the old me. A little words in there that you showed me. I feel again. I feel again. Ooh, ooh, ooh.
One of the early lessons I learned as a kid was from the patron saint of television, Mr. Rogers. In times of crisis, in times of challenge, he would teach us, look for the helpers. And that has stuck with me. It's a lesson that so many of our congregations raise our kids and our teens and ourselves up in again and again. This month, Soulful Sundown is taking a collection for one of the ways in which our area congregations are helpers, the Huntington Interfaith Housing Initiative. In Huntington, where I serve, it's probably 15 years ago now, there was 2 tragic losses. We had in our town 2 men froze to death overnight. And the congregation that I served back then, their minister, Reverend Paul Ratzloff, and the community worked together, reached out to the area congregations and a social work program, Family Services League, to put together a cold weather shelter for migrant men so that no one else froze overnight. 15 houses of worship, multiple different traditions, share their human resources of volunteers together on 7 different locations in the cold weather months, December through March. And we house sometimes 15 men, sometimes 35 men, depending on how cold it is. And it's not just housing. It's also resources, giving clothing, underwear, shaving blades, and social workers work with our guests to help them along. I think about in these times when so much of the world and the news cycle and the chaos around us makes it seem like any difference we have with one another, we can't work together. It is inspiring to see 15 different religious traditions collaborating. And we have folks from all ages that help out. I hear from Reverend Natalie Fenimore that your grade schoolers, here, those of you that are at Shelter Rock, will be helping us on Sunday at the setup, getting the place ready for our guests. This is an opportunity for so many of our congregations to work together and our kids and our adults to learn into being the helpers in times of need. I invite you to be generous in spirit in this time, in this free will offering. Thank you. When I was a child around Christmas time, I remember getting into my pajamas at night and laying down on the carpet of our den and listening to the 24 hours of Christmas. Any of you remember doing that too? A couple? It was a radio station, maybe only in my area. I thought it was everywhere. It was taken over by the holidays, and we would play Christmas music straight through without commercials. It was so important to me that I would ask my parents to record it on cassette tapes. Do you remember those? A relic from another time. Yes, if you have not seen them, ask someone older than you and they can probably show you what it looks like. Each year I wanted to somehow capture the feeling of Christmas. And the little kid in me was sure recording the sounds of the holiday would help me hold on to them, that spirit, a little bit longer. There's a classic Calvin and Hobbes cartoon from my childhood. I'll read the words for you. You probably can't, but the picture should give you some ahs and oohs, right? Thank you. Thank you. Picture of the boy and his tiger shows them curled asleep in the front of a fire. The words read, Christmas Eve, on window panes, the icy frost, leaves, feathered patterns, crisped and crossed. But in our house, the Christmas tree is decorated festively with tiny dots of colored lights that cozy up this winter night. Christmas songs, familiar, slow, play softly on the radio. Pops and hisses from the fire, whistle with the bells and choir. My tiger is now fast asleep on his back and dreaming deep. When the fire makes him hot, he turns to warm whatever's not. Propped against him on the rug, I give my friend a gentle hug. Tomorrow's what I'm waiting for, but I can wait a little more. A closing line sums up the childhood feeling for me. I'm waiting for tomorrow to happen, but I'm also happy being here now, waiting. In some ways, I was kind of experiencing nostalgia alongside the childhood joy as a kid. But mostly, I just didn't want it to end before it began. I was excited about the toys, but I was also looking forward to the religious services. Midnight Mass for me as a kid was a powerful experience. I felt like it was opening up the sacred doors to view a glimpse again of something I was not here for the first time around. Maybe you could call it the opposite of nostalgia, hoping to witness what had already happened, pining for time for an event we had never seen for ourselves. As an adult, I wonder if each of us doesn't witness that scene at the manger after all in our lives. Maybe we touch the spirit of it in between whatever silly we're doing, pageants, decking the halls. Maybe we glimpse the Star of Bethlehem in our own way as we light our candles to Silent Night. The rituals and tradition can bring us back for those of us that are being brought back to Christmas. Sometimes, though, we relive the moment in unexpected ways. I remember the last time I witnessed what I would see as a Christmas miracle. It was about this time of year, 4 years ago, and it's important to me right now, and particularly in the broader state of the world where so much seems in flux, and so many ways we feel like we're moving against a tide. It didn't happen in the desert in Bethlehem, but a desert in Salt Lake City in Utah. The words go, the news article went, like Black Friday shoppers, Miss Campolucci and dozens of others began lining up on Sunday night, bundled up with sleeping bags, hand warmers and down jackets to fight the snow and wind. They huddled together with hot tea and coffee, ducking into running cars to warm up before reclaiming their spot in line. We're just waiting with bated breath, she said. Amy Wilson, who's 7 months pregnant, and spent much of the night outside the offices of the Salt Lake City County Clerk. We're not missing this. It's not happening. Ms. Wilson said a marriage license would mean that she and her partner of 7 years, Emily Arasuma, would both be recognized as the legal parents of their daughter, with each of their names listed on the birth certificate, in case they could not get a license and they had been exploring out-of-state adoptions. After a cold night, Ms. Wilson and Ms. Arasuma married at 8:20 a.m. It was a quick ceremony in a stairwell, with Ms. Arasuma's brother performing the rites. For this modern family, a miracle occurred in the most mundane of places, not a manger, but a stairwell. The most fitting Yuletide present I could ever imagine. Those are the stories that give me that warm Christmas glow, I'll call it, now as an adult. In essence, it's the message of hope and perseverance we encounter in the most unexpected places and for the most unexpected people. Christmas in the story is not about the risen Christ, but that comes later in the Christian story. It's not about power or privilege. It's not about heroes or the rulers, kings or wise men. Nope. Unless by hero you're looking to a mother, a son, and an adoptive father who are travelers, are homeless, and weary from the road. Maybe you're weary from the road tonight, this year. It is in exhaustion and in insecurity that Mary and Joseph show the world a different path to follow. That's the part of the story that resonates the most for me as an adult. That's the one that has meaning to me. Maybe it's the opposite side of the coin that we get in Calvin and Hobbes' cuteness, touching cartoon, but they're both true. Sometimes we approach Bethlehem from the story of compassion, and sometimes we come to the manger from a place of loss, of hoping for hope. Both are there, both are worthy. Will you join with me in a spirit of prayer and meditation? Spirit of life, God of many names, source of love, we celebrate this hour the hope of peace in our lives, joy wherever it is found, and the blessings of family and friends, both near and far. We are grateful for this religious community, this religious space, this home, the stories, the songs, and the silly amidst the serious. May this community be a house of warmth when we are cold, a foundation when we are on shaky ground, and an inspiration when it's hard to find a way. Spirit of peace, teach us to model compassion in our lives, over our dinner tables, on our way to school, when the train doors shut in our face. May we be the steady force that brings your peace to this life. In this holiday seasons of cheer and expectation, some of us are celebrating the birth of light in the world, or hope in our hearts, or that steadfast spirit enduringly burning from the oil of our spirit. Grateful for a long-sought rest at the end of the year for some of us. Others are mourning those who are gone, or mourning the dream of a family they never knew. May we hold each of these in care, holding them in our hearts, holding them in our coffee conversations, holding them in our phone calls and our Facebook posts. For we are the ones who create the world around us, whether it be for love or it be for despair. We have some part in its creation. Remind us to pause before we act, then act with kindness, with generosity of spirit, with patience, and a day will surely come where we know a world so full of these blessings. We hold in our hearts this evening all those who are missing loved ones, family members who have passed, soldiers who are serving abroad, those who do not have the luxury to travel for the holidays to see their family, and for those who build up their family one friend at a time. May this season be a cause of celebration for the many sources of love in our lives. Amen, and blessed be. For those who see God, may God be with us. For those who embrace life, may life return our affections. For those who seek a right path, may a way be found and the courage to take it step by step. For this is the day we are given. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. Amen.
God rest ye merry gentlemen, let nothing you dismay. Remember Christ our Savior was born upon this day to save us all from Satan's power when we were led astray. Oh, tidings of comfort and joy, comfort and joy. Oh, tidings of comfort and joy. From God, our Heavenly Father, the blessed angel came unto certain shepherds, brought tidings of the same, how that in Bethlehem was born the Son of God by name. Oh, tidings of comfort and joy, comfort and joy. Oh, tidings of comfort and joy. Westward leading, still proceeding, guide us to thy perfect light. display. God rest you, merry gentlemen, nothing you display. God rest you, merry gentlemen, let nothing you display. God rest you, merry gentlemen, nothing you display.
Absolutely gorgeous music tonight. Thank you so much. I'm glad to be able to announce that we raised this evening for a high $857. Thank you all so much.